Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Now you might be looking at this box and you might be thinking, well, what are we reviewing today because nothing's inside? Well, that's because the figures have already been taken out, and in fact the inside part of the box has already been taken out. There was kind of like a hollow earth sort of image in the backdrop of the box, and then of course the figures, but the box has already been opened. But I wanted to bring the box in just to kind of show you the overall appearance of it quick. This is a set that has recently begun showing up at Targets here in the United States, and specifically I wanted to show off the back of the box because look at how cool the overall visual of the back of the box is, showing off each and every one of the characters that are included in this set and basically showing you what they all are. Of course, we have Godzilla evolved with the heat ray. We also have Kong with the beast glove and the heave. We have Mothra with Gia. We have the Skar King with the whiplash, and Shimo with the frostbite blast. So super cool back to the box for sure. But if we pull this out of here and we bring in all of the figures, first of all, we've got our Shimo here. We also have Kong over here. Let's see if I can get him to stand, because actually I'm going to have to reposition his legs to try to get him to stand. There we go. We also have Mothra, which is really exciting because this is actually well, it just fell back. But this set is the first time I've had the pleasure of checking out the new Playmates Mothra, because unfortunately I have not found the standalone release for that figure yet. So luckily this set again is showing up at Target, allowing me a chance to actually see this figure, because I've only really seen images of it online up until this point. We also have the heave for our Kong, as well as our little tiny Gia figure back there, which is actually really cool. I'm pretty excited to have a figure of her. But then we as well have our Skar King, and then of course Godzilla. And well, let's go ahead and fix the ankles on Godzilla, because those were messed up as well. But as you can see, this is one heck of a set. It is absolutely filled with kaiju figures, and at the price tag of, I think it's about $45, $50, somewhere in that range, it is still a pretty good deal, because again, you've got 5 different figures, including accessories for each and every one, which is definitely really fun. The only downside, in a way, is the fact that all of these figures, outside of, again, for me, Mothra, they're all repaints of figures we already have had in the line, so there's not really anything super exciting as far as new kaiju, again outside of Mothra, which is a figure that's kind of hard to find so far. So I think if we actually just kind of take everybody here out of the screen so we can kind of focus on one figure at a time, we will begin with our Skar King. So again, it is definitely a repaint of the standard figure, but it does have kind of a cool look to it outside of this odd yellow coloration that we have on the figure, because they basically just dry brushed some yellow tones here and there, and I feel like it doesn't really look very good. It almost looks like a baby kind of threw up on him, and again, just generally has kind of an awkward look, and I don't really understand what the idea was behind it, what they were going for. But outside of that, you have your basic standard Skar King reddish tone for the figure. You can see that you have this sort of like an off-white as you move down into the forearms, and you have like a red striping moving through. And then again, that same coloration overtakes the hands entirely. You do have a little bit of a lighter tone in the chest, as well as down here in the stomach. Really nice light airbrushing over in that area. More of the yellows again showing up down here in the legs. You do have some darker variations of color, like maroonish tones, showing up in a few different areas. You can see them in the upper arms here, and basically in the abs, as well as moving into the groin. And then as you move down into the feet, we return back to that standard kind of reddish tone. But you do have more of that tone of color, again, that alternate tone of color as you lead down into the feet, again, before transitioning back to that sort of off-white for the toes. And then again, you've got like the red striping through the face. You have that off-white for the snout. Same deal for the side of the head over here. Again, that little bit of variation of color with that kind of, again, slightly like a maroonish sort of a tone. And maybe almost like a magenta sort of a tone. But you can see the eyes look quite interesting, as they are painted with a red, and then just basically we have a yellow pupil, which is really quite weird. And then of course we have Skar King's favorite whip here over him, and again that as well is removable. I don't think there's anything different about that one. I don't even know if the coloration is different on that one compared to the standard Skar King. And of course he does feature all the same articulation and everything that he had first time around. It is basically just a a repaint, and that is going to be the case with pretty much everything here. And then when it comes to Shimo, Shimo might be one of the most boring overall as far as the alternate tones of color, because we basically just have the white tone of the body color, again, basically like that same white tone we've had primarily for Shimo the entire time. And then you have a purple that's been airbrushed over the upper part of Shimo, and that's honestly it. Like, there's nothing else really going on as far as the coloration. As you lead out, I guess you might see a slight bit of different tone of color. It kind of looks almost like it has like a bluish tint when you look at it from up above, but then when you come down to the side, it does have more of that same sort of like white tone that we see for the primary body color. But you can see the purple does run out onto the tail, and then again we have the translucent kind of like almost kind of crystal like look here to the back spines of Shimo. You see the same thing up there again when it comes to the ones leading off of the back of the head, again with that really cool translucent look. For the eye, we basically have a black and then a white kind of inside the black area, and that's about it as far as this one goes. When it comes to the coloration differing from previous releases, not really too flashy or incredible. We of course have the Frostbite Blast, which is a very cool translucent bluish tone, and then if we pull that out of the mouth, you can see you have the tongue in there, and that's really it. When it comes to detail and paintwork, nothing else going on, and then the teeth painted with like an off-white bordering on maybe like a light yellowish tone, but that's really about it. So again, not a whole lot going on when it comes to Shimo. Same articulation, same sculpt, everything as far as the standard release. Then Mothra is a figure that I have not actually reviewed on the channel, so that's a pretty cool one. You can see, of course, that the wings of Mothra look absolutely phenomenal when it comes to the decals that they've applied here, giving her a very, very, very flashy and striking look as a whole. But one thing that is a little bit of a bummer is when you get actually nice and close to Mothra, you can see that when it comes to the fine detail department, there's really not much going on. She overall has a fairly smooth body with just some slight texturing to her. You can see she does have a brownish tone for her body color. You can see a white and then a blue basically there in the eye area and the face, and then a little bit of a darker tone like a black leading along the legs. And then outside of that, the rest of the color that you see is out here in the wings, but even the wings, again, considering these are decals, there's no real texturing to the wings themselves. You can see it's pretty boring overall as far as the fine detail goes. She doesn't really have much in the way of fine detail at all, but she does have some fun articulation as far as her wings go, so you can move them up and then of course down, and they do also swivel. And then you can do the same again with these lower wings here. You can do again up and or back and forth, however you want to term that, and then you can swivel, so you can go up this way. So it's really dependent on the way you want to pose Mothra, and then of course you can also press them together and everything. So again, it is pretty cool as far as the articulation of the wings goes, but she's not really the most incredible figure overall, and I'm kind of glad that I got her in this set as opposed to the standalone release. I don't know what the standalone release looks like, again, since I haven't had a chance to actually find that one, so I don't know if there's any real difference between the coloration of this one and your standard release. But if I do ever find the standard release, I will be sure to compare the two, if I in fact even make a video. If I find differences, I will make a video. If it's the same figure, I wouldn't bother. But you can see, when it comes to Gia, you don't really have much in the way of like detailing of the face. You can see that we don't really have any paintwork or anything for her face. You can kind of make out some minor detailing, but even that, again, is kind of hard to see. Her outfit is definitely nicely detailed overall, and she does have a little variation as far as the greens compared to her, like from her pants to her jacket is definitely a little bit of a different shade of green. You can see her hands are painted out, and again, the detail throughout her outfit does look pretty good. You can see her hair is also painted again. Not the greatest figure, but still pretty cool to at least have a figure of her. And then Kong. Now, Kong basically is, again, just the standard figure, not really any different as far as the sculpt or articulation. We have a brown for the primary body color of Kong. You can see a little bit of a grayish tone here to the chest and the abs moving down, and you can see some of the scars again, painted out, not sculpted out here on the chest. As you move up, you have kind of like a mixture of grays and browns for the face, and then you have this light gray moving up and over the top of the head. And as you move over here, you can see it kind of run down into the shoulder and then down along the side of Kong, and you also see it down here in the hand, and then 2 areas down here in the legs. And that's probably, now you got a little bit back here, but that's probably about it, because, you know, when it comes to variation of color that differs on this one compared to the standard release, I would say that's probably the best you're going to get, because other than that, it basically just looks like your usual Kong. Again, you do have the glove over here on the side, which does actually have a little bit of that white kind of tone applied to it, but it does look really cool, I will say that. And then again, no other variation of color. You do have a pink for the inside of the mouth, the teeth painted with a white, which are pretty nicely painted, and you can see the eyes. Whoa, if we could focus, you could. The eyes are a black with a white spot, but obviously they're not perfectly placed. Definitely a little sloppy as far as that goes. But again, absolutely the same figure we've had numerous times. Just a very cool looking repaint. And that's basically the appeal of this set. The appeal would be to get some really cool paint variants of the figures that are already released. And then of course Mothra, if you're having trouble finding her like I did. But you can see the heave. Again, same figure, but very cool kind of chrome look for this one. And then Godzilla is definitely the most striking figure, I would say, in here, because we have the grayish tone of Godzilla, but we have this very cool pink tone to Godzilla as well. They've obviously taken like a pink and kind of applied it in like a wash-like fashion, but it's not like the best application of the wash. It looks a little bit cheesy overall, but it does still, again from a distance, give this Godzilla an incredibly striking look for sure. And you can see that tone is all through the face. We don't really have any paintwork for the eyes. It's basically, again, that pinkish tone. As you move down through the body, you'll see it lead down into the arms. As you move back, you see it leading down through the course of the body, down through the legs, all the way down into the feet, and then leading out into the tail. It's a little bit different because it doesn't really have that wash-like look anymore, but it basically is painted over the back of the tail, leading out all the way to the end of the tail of our evolved version of Godzilla. And we do have the very cool spines that are now, again, translucent, but also have that pinkish look to them as well, which I definitely really like. I wish they would have been that way the entire way through, like running out onto the tail and moving down along the back of the head. I think that would have been fun to have them that way. You can also see that pink wash also running here along the underside, but very abruptly ending here as we lead down into the tail. And I'm actually kind of wondering if maybe, because if you look at the bottom of the feet, it's definitely looking like the coloration, the primary color of this Godzilla was actually the pink, so maybe it's not a wash. I'm actually now looking at it thinking, rather than a wash, I think they just basically dry brushed the grayish tones out, and that's how they painted this one. Almost has like a grayish green sort of a look. In certain lights, when I let the light hit it, like right now up here, it kind of looks green. But if we pull the atomic breath of Godzilla out, you can see the inside of the mouth as well. Again, also has that pinkish tone. Not really anything going on as far as that goes. Like there's no painted teeth or anything like that. And the atomic breath, of course, as well, has a very cool translucent look like everything else in this set seems to. And also, again, has a little bit of like a pinkish sort of, or like a almost like a bordering on an orangish sort of a look. But overall, I think that's really all we need to take a look at when it comes to this set. So let me go ahead and get everything put back together. And there you go, one final shot of everything included in this set. Again, I don't think there's much else that needs to be said, just basically a really cool multi-pack of these figures with different paint variants you can't really get anywhere else. So exclusive to this set, making them pretty fun, definitely quite collectible. So if you are interested in grabbing this set, head to your local Target. Again, you can grab them in store. I don't know for sure if they're on the Target website quite yet. I will take a look, and if they are, I'll add a link in the description. So far, I've only seen them in store. So again, check your local Target, grab them if you want them, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.